How do we get through hard times?
My wife Julie has a son, Michael, and when Julie and I became married, Michael became my stepson. And Michael was handsome, ambitious, smart, and at the age of 19, he was driving a car down the highway in Adelaide when he hit a truck. And the impact of the collision ripped the entire roof off his car, and he was rushed by ambulance to the Royal Adelaide Hospital at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we all gathered at the hospital, and at 6 o'clock, the doctors called a meeting. There were 4 of them. They said, Julie, your son is brain dead. They said, we would like to donate his organs. He'll help a lot of people. How does a mother understand? How does she respond to that kind of request? How do you get your head around 4 doctors who tell you your son is brain dead? And Julie said, you've got to give me some time, give me a few minutes. And she came back and she said to the doctors, you must be able to do something. You must, she said, my job is to save my son. And they said, well, he's on a respirator. We expect that his lungs are going to collapse by 11 o'clock. They said his brain is swelling so quickly that is going to kill him because of the pressure inside his skull. And Julie said, can't you cut a piece of bone out of the side of his head so that you can let his brain expand and it won't kill him? Julie persuaded the doctors to do that. They said it won't help. And 11 o'clock they called another meeting, the same 4 doctors. This time they had a form to sign. And they said, we'd like you to donate his organs. And Julie said, you leave him on that respirator for another 3 days. Keep him alive. And then you'll never hear from me again. The doctors reluctantly agreed. That was a Monday. On the Thursday at midday, we gathered at the hospital with a priest and they switched off the respirator. And Michael breathed. And Michael survived. Severely brain injured. He'd lost his capacity to speak. He couldn't walk. Severe memory loss, paralysed all down his right side. Right arm was paralysed, right leg was paralysed, and so began the job of rehabilitation. And even today, and we're over 20 years later, Michael still has trouble speaking, but he can walk, he can speak to a fashion. Boys that Michael went to school with are now barristers, bankers, and tennis coaches. These are the dreams that we had, that Julie had for her son Michael, and he will never have a regular job. One of the common questions that Julie gets is, how do you deal with having a severely disabled son? And Julie says, I still have him, and he's kind, and he is generous, and he has a beautiful soul. In other words, she focuses on what she has. And within that, there seems to be a recipe for getting through hard times. You focus on what you have. You say, is it logical? I don't know if it's logical, but it's the only way that we get through difficult times. The reason that I tell you this story is there are 3 ingredients within this. And this is not the toughest thing that's happened to many of you. Many of you have been through far more difficult, more challenging, more heartbreaking experiences. But there are 3 things that come out of this. Number 1 is acceptance. This is not what we planned for, but this is where we are. Number 2 is persistence. And number 3 is gratitude. Michael now lives in an apartment 5 minutes from us, 4 days a week, with his paralysed arm and his paralysed leg. Very difficult for him to string a sentence or 2 together. He catches the bus and he goes to a coffee shop and he washes dishes 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. When I meet someone and they say, yeah, I'm not really working that much now, I've got a bit of a sore ankle, I feel so proud of Michael and I feel so proud of Julie